All right, hello and welcome. How is everyone doing on this
Now I can't hear you at all.
March the 16th, 2021, and
Hello?
John is telling me that he can't hear me. That is probably something to do with my fault, I'm sure, as I've been getting things rebuilt up.
I can't hear you.
He's telling me he can't hear me, but that I hear you. There you go. You should be able to hear me now, there, John.
I can hear you with the echo again now.
You can hear me with the echo again. Oh, will my audio woes ever be complete? I think not. I think not. So there should. Yeah, nah. And I do apologize for the echo. I have zero idea why it would be echoing at this point. Because it wasn't earlier. John and I actually tested this out earlier in the day, and I have changed nothing between then and now. Like, literally nothing. So it makes just no sense that it is doing this. And I can check my things real quick.
I just left. I just left and came back, and it sounds fine now.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Maybe it was just me.
Indeed. So let's say hi to everyone in the chat, because y'all guys have been hanging out here for this little bit here. 47 Yorktown with all the Dolphins. How are you doing today? 47 Yorktown. Then this John DiMarco guy, Life with Matthew or Life with Darwin virtual pub. Life with Darwin. Yeah. I think that's combining the two.
Exactly.
Could be an interesting show. Karoganite, how are you doing tonight? Viva Karoga indeed. Viva the glorious beard of John DiMarco. That is a glorious beard you got there, sir.
Why, thank you.
And Professor Bernie Specs, how you doing? Well, which I think you missed an opportunity there. That should have been spelled WHALE in honor of Darwin. Yes, different species, but close enough. We are finally doing SeaQuest again, just barely. It was a hit and miss thing, but thankfully my work schedule has allowed me to come and do SeaQuest tonight. And finally indeed. Greetings to you as well, Professor. And then you guys are talking back and forth. John's asking, will I start in time? And I think I have proven the answer is no. No, I will not. It is a very ish. Starting now-ish. And as Professor Bernie Speck says, TM on that trademark, because you never going to know. And there were audio issues, but for once, I don't think it was entirely my fault today. But they're worked out, and in far less time than they were last night on the pub with Anti-Tracker. So we're here. We've made it to the finale, the season 1 finale. Are you excited for this, John?
I am very excited.
I'm fairly excited as well. I think you guys are in for a treat. Lots of things happened this episode. Things I did not see it coming. And Rock Solid Productions, how are you doing today? Saying I need to see this 6 seconds or less. Bird of Prey 5 wants Mike Richards to say hi to his package. What?
Oh yeah, that was from Bird. That was from Bird's stream.
It's hilarious because he says it, and then you see, it connects. I just said those words, immortalized forever here on YouTube, and I can't unsay them. I know the feeling, Bird.
It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that time when Matthew said he loves Code of Honor.
I was, that's the exact thing I was thinking of, John. I was thinking, wow, forever immortalized. Matthew likes Code of Honor, which I don't, just for the record. I just thought it was a Heart of Glory, which appeared a couple episodes later, but it doesn't matter. Forever in prosperity, you will be able to hear me say, I love Heart of Glory, or I love Code of Honor. Not that bad of an episode, and clearly the only reason I would do that is because I'm a raging racist. I can't think of another reason to love Code of Honor.
Oh, certainly not.
Certainly not, indeed. Oh gosh, but let's go ahead and get this started. And I guess no one can get this started because I actually haven't put the link into the stream because I'm being a bad host tonight. Let me drop that in here and pin it. And hey, how are you doing today, Sci-Fi Nation? Glad to see that you are around. Saying greetings, Matthew and fellow nerds. I binged this on Peacock last week. I am so glad you did because as John DiMarco, Professor Brainspecs, and Thomas Potts were desperately trying to let me know early this week, it's going away. What date is that on?
I think it's maybe down to 27 days now.
I think that's what y'all are saying. So sometime mid-April, it's gone. It's going off Peacock TV services. So if you want to binge watch this on your own, you better do it quick because after early April, that's it. Peacock TV will be removing this. Now, I will still be able to do this because the way I have it worked out is I have my own copies and we have the screening room for anyone who wants to join us in the screening room. And that is the link that I just posted in the chat. And it doesn't matter if you are on Twitch or YouTube, you should see that in the chat. But that link is only valid while we are doing this watch party for the next hour or so. So after we finish watching it, I'm sorry, it's gone. You're going to have to either watch it on Peacock TV for the next 27-ish days, or you're going to have to go out and buy it off eBay or off Amazon because there are DVDs of it. So this is still a show that you can get it in some form or fashion. And who knows, maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe that this is going to go over to be able to watch on Amazon Prime. Maybe this will go to, I don't know, what's another one out there? I guess Paramount? Does Paramount own this now? No, Peacock is NBC.
I think it's still NBC, yeah.
Yeah, so Hulu maybe? Honestly, I'm not sure who it could be at this point, but maybe it's going to go to another one of these streaming services. We can only hope, right, guys?
Thomas sent a link about someone who was selling the season 2 on eBay, for example, and it was a reasonable price. So I ordered that myself. Everybody else wants to check it out. I think
was that the Region 1 one?
It said it was Region 1, yes.
And we are Region 1 or Region 0, which is like any region free. I think technically there are ways around that. Like if you pop it into your computer, I think it might ignore regions. I certainly know that there have been several foreign DVDs that I've had I personally owned, and my computer has had zero problem running it. I don't remember if it's because I installed something on it to bypass regions or if it's just my computer didn't care. It's definitely one of those two things. And Professor Brainspec is saying it might be Hulu. So hopefully it's still out there. Hopefully it's not just gone forever unless you buy a physical copy of it. But, we'll see in about 30 days. Maybe 60 as they transition between the two services. We'll find out, guys. But thankfully, even if you miss it, even if you're in the future and you don't have your own copy and it's not streaming anywhere, we are providing still snapshots, which is right below here. So just for reference, so you can see what we're talking about. Once every 5 seconds, I update the still below us, just so you can get an idea as we provide some live commentary for this episode. And Professor Brain Specs is saying that you either have to set the DVD drive to the right region, which you can only do 5 times, or use software. And Life with Matthew says, Josh, can you even find a copy on DVD anymore? Yes, you can. In fact, John DiMarco was just saying that he got a copy off eBay. And I've seen them on Amazon as well. So there are copies out there that you can still get. And Professor Brainspecs talking about changing your drive to the right region. That sounds really familiar. I think I've done that in the past. I think what I actually did is I set it to region 0. And that lets you do all the regions. I swear that's what I've done in the past. And Josh is also wondering, is the Life with Matthew tortures anti-truckers audience with 2 Barbie movies? No, this is not this one. Thursday over on Anti-Truckers channel, we will be doing that. And I might be doing it remotely depending on work schedule stuff. But yes, it's going to happen. If I'm hiding in my car, so I'm not disturbing people on the either side of the walls, that's what I'm going to have to do. but I'll do it for y'all. And Professor Brainswick saying, I'm not sure that works. It's been a long time since I've done it. I just remember it was like over a decade ago that I did set my DVD drive to be region free somehow. And I think I did it to watch some Trigun DVDs I bought, which turned out to be just 100% pirated. I was extremely disappointed by this. I thought I was buying a legitimate copy off eBay, and they show up and the case looks nice. And I opened the case up and I'm like, oh, these are so pirated. Like, you can tell the guy had one of those like print on CD labels that you mash onto the DVD when you're done. And all the qualities were like these low quality DivX rips. I'm not sure if anyone even remembers DivX anymore, but they were region like 2 or 3, whatever Japan is, I forget. And I remember that I had to set my DVD drive to 0. I think it was to 0 to bypass it. Somehow I was able to make my DVD drive region free. It's something I should look into again. I still got the DVDs. It's just, I remember I also used Handbrake to rip the files off the DVD and apply some decombing stuff, because it was clearly they recorded this off like 480 interlace quality sort of TV signals. So I decombed it so it didn't have that jaggedness between every other frame going on, and it was a thing. But it worked. So let's go ahead and get this started, because I was up way too late last night with the pub, and I do have a very, very early morning tomorrow morning. And yes, Sci-Fi Nation, he also remembers using DivX to rip DVDs before Roxio came out. Yeah, just growing up, there are so many things this present generation isn't going to understand. They're not going to get DivX. They're not going to get, what was the one? Like Real Media Player? It came bundled with something else. It had like this little voice box looking icon. I think it was Real Media Player, which was just all the rage.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so the pain was real, but we've thankfully bypassed it. The FOB files, oh gosh, it was such a convoluted mess to get it all running. But guys, let's get this started, and we will. I think you're in for a treat. Hopefully, everyone who wants to is over in the watch room at this point again, or blah. I can talk. I swear I can talk. Hopefully, everyone who wants to be in the watch room is there at this point, and if you can't or just don't want to be, clips are below. So let me give a 5 count here, and we will get going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and hit play, everyone. Hopefully you're synced up at this point. And we are getting tonight on SeaQuest. You see Lucas's dad, but unfortunately, last time Admiral Noyce heard from him, the dad was dead. Which I don't think that's something that can change. I think once you check once, it tends to be pretty consistent over time. But what do I know?
Now we got an underwater hydroelectric station,
which is a pretty interesting theory. Like, I've heard a lot of people swear that this is the way to get free energy in the world. That you basically set up these turbines underwater, close to the continental shelf, so you're below you're away from the shore, so people don't hit it, but you're at the continental shelf where you start to get this current coming in and going out from all the waves. And they swear that this is the way to get free power. Now, there's an issue with this. Power isn't free. If you built this huge distributed grid that was taking advantage of the currents, you would actually be impacting the gravitational pull of the moon. And it's an interesting thought exercise, because if you made it big enough such that you impacted the drag of the moon sufficiently, you could cause the moon to crash into the Earth. Fun stuff.
Speaking of having fun, Captain Bridger is doing something with salt.
So what they're trying to do is make this salt shaker not fall over. So they've dumped some salt onto the table, and the goal is to get it just propped right on the edge without it falling over. And for some reason, you get to use the pile of salt behind you. Maybe this is a Navy thing. I'm just not familiar with it. But Bridger wins, and so this other guy owes him $300. But they've
This
been
other
13
guy is
months.
apparently the captain.
Yeah, go on, John.
The other guy who was doing his thing with is apparently the captain of a carrier, and he wants to recruit some of Bridger's crew for his ship.
And apparently, like, the entire world has the day off, is what I think they're trying to say right here. That in celebration of the world getting energy for free, everyone has the day off. And so, like, this is the first time Bridger has had a day off in 13 months. Because he says no matter what, at the end of one of his tours, he always takes at least a day off. You know, like that's such a large amount of time to be taking off. So they are 1 hour away from officially switching the world over to these turbines.
Underwater turbines. That's a little bit suspicious. We know how turbines are reliable.
I mean, look, as soon as they turn them on, it causes a giant gaping maw to appear in the earth.
I'm sure it's not a problem.
They don't actually know this. Like, as far as they're aware, they see that there's this random heat spike, but they don't actually have cameras on every single turbine out there. Which maybe they should have, or at least, sporadically around there. Because apparently, not only does the turbine somehow cause the earth, the crust to rip open, but it actually causes it causes like this rift to form all the way up to the plant itself. Like you see the cables being ripped apart there. And who downvoted as Professor Brainy Specs? I don't know. Haters gonna hate. Just gotta shake it off. Shake it off. I don't know, I shouldn't be talking over the wonderful SeaQuest music at this moment, which is just by far and large better than the song I am referencing right now.
Yeah, this song is amazing.
It would be. We've been talking about this before, but I swear, as soon as I find the time, I need to either take TNG's theme and overlay it on top of the opening theme here in SeaQuest, or do the exact opposite, or both.
I know there is at least one YouTube channel I've seen at least that's taken the Orville theme and the Orville intro and laid the themes in the different Star Trek series over it, and they done SeaQuest as well.
So I really love this this quintet they got going on here. As they watch, oh gosh, what's his face? I'm gonna blank on everyone's name this week.
It's Krieg.
Krieg, there we go. As Krieg is asking out just every girl, he gets rejected by one, goes talks to the next one, just over and over and over again, and they're all just laughing at him. And Officer Wynn is saying, hey, I had a buddy who used to talk to 100 girls a night, and yeah, he got slapped a lot, but he also ended up taking them home a lot. So it's a winning strategy apparently. So the commander of the aircraft carrier realizes that he can't beat Bridger at the salt game. So instead they've pivoted to volleyball. And if he can win the game of volleyball, then he gets a chance to talk to Ford. Because apparently if Bridger doesn't give him permission, he can't even approach Ford, which I guess is just a bit of professional courtesy there. And Lucas is on the side pouting. Bridger wants to know if he'll come join and play with them. And Lucas says, no, I'm angry. And Bridger's like, what, at your old man? He goes, no. He goes, really? Because I'd be. And apparently that convinces Lucas to come join the game of volleyball here.
It's an epic game of volleyball, it is.
Yeah, I think Top Gun probably did a little bit better.
It's really close.
Oh yeah, just neck and neck here. Even though it seems like the whole time you only see SeaQuest's gang getting scored on, they are keeping it pretty neck and neck according to what they're saying. And look, the aircraft commander, he's not even, or captain, he's not even playing. He's making his crew do it. At least Bridger's out there, trying on his own to get things going, to win. And Ford wants to know what's at stake here. And Bridger lies and says, well, the only thing at stake is pride. Dr. Westphalen's just on the sidelines, dressed up in like the 60s kind of beachnik outfit. But I really like the fact that they developed up Westphalen's and Bridger's relationship.
Yeah, I think that was well done.
And Security Chief win with the flourish, which I think was clearly the game-winning moment as we see the captain hand over $300 to Bridger and leave without talking to Ford. But danger lurks beneath the waves. And we get the last 5 seconds counting down until they flip the switch and free unlimited power, powered by the gentle ocean currents, takes over the entire world. Which, just think about the logistics of this. They're talking about a single hydrological plant that is somehow providing the massive amount of power that the entire globe needs. Like the power cables you would need to transmit energy over such long distances boggles the mind. Millions of amperes for each country. And yes, you can do things of sending very, very, very high voltages at very, very low amperage, but still, you're going to have extreme voltage drop over those distances. Like there's a reason we have so many power plants throughout America. Once you go a certain distance, it's not worth it.
And one would almost think they should have tested it.
Right.
So I was just saying, tested it on a small area first, perhaps.
Yeah. And you would also
meanwhile, everybody else is celebrating. Sorry.
No. Anytime. You just go on ahead. or else I'll never shut up.
While everybody else is celebrating the lights coming on, Lucas is standing in the back, all depressed.
And this engineer on the left is Mr. Rosenthal, and he's saying we need to shut this down. But unfortunately, Lucas's dad is saying, no. This is $1 billion project or $100 billion project, something obscenely huge, and there's no way we can shut it down.
Captain Bridger, is giving a speech about the end of the tour. But some of the people will be leaving and some of the people will be continuing on to the next tour.
Which is a nice way of leaving yourself open to a second season. Like, hey, maybe this is it. So we leave it on a note where the series could end in theory. But if it does continue and not everyone comes back, we've at least set up a good in-universe reason in this episode why they might not be coming back. Well, maybe Forge doesn't come back because he gets a job somewhere else. Maybe Hitchcock, she's going to go be, captain this or, privateer that. And unfortunately, Lucas is not here with us today. He is deeply hurt. So he skipped out on Bridger's farewell speech. And Bridger is going to go check in on him, and Wes Phelan kind of leans in and says, so are we still on for tonight? And Bridger's like, I wouldn't miss it for the world. And she says, finally. And here we got Krieg, O'Neill, and Ortiz, that they have gone in together and purchased a gift just for Bridger. And Bridger,
considering the source, Captain Bridger decides to pass.
He says, I once got a gift from my crew that when I opened it up, a holographic geisha girl ran about my cabin. It took me the next half hour to get her back in that box. I think I'll pass. And he walks off, and Krieg goes, how did he know what it was? I really like the fact that the box was wrapped in newspaper comics. It's not something you can really do anymore, because, who gets a newspaper delivered these days? And poor Lewis, he's sitting there listening to a audio recording of his dad saying, sorry I couldn't make it. I love you, but I'm too busy. Hope to see you soon. And Lewis is really, truly upset about the fact that everyone's saying goodbye. That, Bridger did so much for him, and now it's over. And he really doesn't want to go back. This videotape was the last birthday present he got from his dad. And he's mainly concerned that his dad is just kind of use him as an accessory. He's going to parade him around and show him off on his victory lap now that he's saved the world. Or not, okay, Lewis says that it was his Christmas present, not birthday present. And Bridger offers to call him and smooth things over, but he says, no, it's fine. But if you do end up talking to him, I guess tell him I said hi.
And Bridger's both a great captain and a great dad.
He is. Less great, however, is this ever-widening chasm of molten lava. So Bridger gives Lewis's dad a quick call, and the dad just says, well, ask him if my son's okay. Bridger says, well, yeah, he's good. And so the dad says, well, then thank him, but tell him I can't talk right now. And of course, Bridger doesn't know what's going on, but the dad's actually kind of right. They have this huge problem going on that they need to address. Now, in theory, I've done work on automatic transfer switches at hospitals and stuff. It should be extremely easy to transfer power. Like, if they made this, there's no way they would not have a transfer switch to go from this new system to the old system in case of emergency. Now, there might be some issue of making sure that, whatever power source you're using has time to come up to speed to meet demand, be it nuclear or solar, wind, coal, natural gas, whatever. You wouldn't have that wind-up time.
As I say, speaking of electricity, the captain and the doctor are having a little private moment.
Sparks are flying. That's true. It's an old couple romance. So we're finding out what everyone's kind of planning on doing after this. That Ford's been offered a captaincy of some private vessel. And Krieg is a little upset. He's like, why aren't I getting any offers? And they're like, well, you need discipline to be a captain. And it turns out that Hitchcock has also gotten a offer to be a captain aboard a supertanker. And it turns out it's the exact same ship that Ford has been offered.
Oh, yeah. Did you catch the name of the tanker?
No, what was it? The Orlando or something?
It's the H.R. Clinton.
Oh, that makes sense. But it turns out that, Ford's upset. He's like, well, I haven't said no yet. Why are they offering it to someone else? And Hitchcock says, well, look, you might be able to turn down that much money, but there's no way I know how to turn down $400,000 a year. And Ford's like, what? They only offered me $300,000. And, Crick points out that, well, maybe they want a woman. Women tend to be more calm under pressure. They make better captains. And, Ford goes, well, that rules you out, Krieg. And he goes, well, don't talk so fast. I could totally be a woman. And so Bridger and Dr. Westphalen are getting a little hot and heavy in the captain's quarters. And all of a sudden, the hologram kicks on, and it is Bridger's wife. And Dr. Westphalen is cowering behind Bridger, saying, can she see us? And he's like, I hope not. And Lucas pops in, and he's like, hey, did you like my going away present? I programmed the hologram to know how to talk to your wife. And Bridger's just so pissed that he invaded his personal time. And Lewis is like, what's the big deal? And then he sees Dr. Westphalen getting dressed behind Bridger. And, is just thoroughly embarrassed and hangs up.
Man, poor Lewis.
Poor Lewis. Bless his heart.
Meanwhile, things are starting to explode at the power station.
Yes, too little, too late. Lewis's dad, he tried to go ahead and switch things over, but they couldn't do it at this point. And now things are getting rather explodey. And of course, with things getting explodey, the seaboard shuts down, and I just unmuted the audio on the stream. Is it super garbly for everyone? Is that the audio issues you were talking about? Is that why it's so quiet?
The only audio issue I was talking about is that echo at the beginning.
Honestly, one thing gets fixed and another thing breaks right now. There's just ain't no winning. So Dr. Westphaling comes to talk to Lewis, and Lewis is like, you don't owe me an explanation. And she says, well, I feel like I owe you, and I feel like I owe an explanation to myself. And she's like, just this classic awkward mom conversation with Lewis. And she's like, look, adults need intimacy. And, I'm not talking about sex, even though that's clearly what was about to happen in the captain's quarters. And, he responds like, look, I get what you're saying. Anytime an adult says this, what they're really trying to say is I'm not adult enough to understand the situation. And he's saying, well, you know what? I need intimacy too, and I'm not talking about sex. I've been completely shut out of everything. Especially with my dad. It's like, stand over there, take a number. We'll get to you when we can, Lucas. I'm not sure why he calls himself that, but he's upset right now. And Westphalen says, yeah, it's appropriate that you're upset right now. We understand. But she goes ahead and gives him his space. Then Bridger comes to talk to Crocker. Another great relationship that they built up over the course of the series. And so Bridger's offering him a small guest. He's like, look, or gift. He says, I understand that I pulled you out of retirement. I never said thank you, but I really just want to say thank you. And I guess that you're pretty anxious to get home and see your wife, Helen. So he opens it up, and it is the watch that someone was wearing when they launched the Nautilus. Which I don't remember if that's a callback to earlier in the episode or earlier in the season. But Crocker tries to politely reject it. And he's like, no, you've earned this. And, Crocker brings over this. It looks almost like a video cam, but it's supposed to be a portable video device. And it is his wife, which, my goodness, truth bomb coming down here. His wife sent him a Dear John letter by video saying that while you were gone, I fell in love with another man. And, let's be honest, you always loved the sea more than me anyway. The only time our relationship worked was when we were long distance. And Crocker just wants to, slam it against the wall and break it, but Bridger grabs it real quick. And Crocker's just having this major crisis of who he is now. His one part of his life is ending, his time aboard the SeaQuest, and at the same time, he has nothing to go back to because that part just left him. I was like, dang, that is a hard-hitting thing to do to Crocker.
Yeah, that poor guy.
Meanwhile, on the bridge, O'Neill is discovering that he's able to communicate with the satellites in orbit, but there's no response. And Lewis shows up saying he's lost connection to the internet. It's like the entire world has gone dark. And said, well, that's ridiculous. There's no way the entire world could go dark. And Ford says, let's do an E-band test. So apparently there is a special emergency kind of, your red phone line, basically, that he's taking advantage of right now. And Dr. Wes Balin and Bridger are attempting to have a romantic dinner in the boardroom. And he confesses, like, let's be honest, the reason we're having this in here instead of my quarters is I'm still a little nervous about Lewis, tapping into my video phone. Which, I mean, just think about that. The reality of that, where every room has a video device attached to it. That's crazy. Like, I don't even like sitting in front of my computer with the cover off the camera. Just the idea that at any time, in theory, I could have forgotten to turn this off. Be sitting here like a dink with anyone to be able to see me. Like, I don't like that idea. I don't even like the microphone being off while I mumble to myself while I work.
Meanwhile, the captain and doctor just can't catch a break.
What's his name now? The head of the UEO Noyce? Grand
I think it's
Admiral
called Secretary General.
Secretary
General or something like that.
That makes more sense. So, Supreme Secretary Noyce, he lets them in on what's going on, that the entire world has lost power. And Lewis's dad, last he heard, was dead. And of course, Lewis heard everything. He was standing right there, listening into the conversation.
It talks about how he lost his son. Apparently, there's apparently still some doubt, and that doubt eats at him every day.
Yeah, not being able to know how his son actually died is really hard on him. Which I mean, how would that wear on a guy? How would that affect you to not know, like, how your child died? I don't know. That is definitely something I'm glad I don't have to worry about. I pray I never have to worry about. But the SeaQuest is going to make all speed for the hydro plant. And we see that Lewis's dad isn't quite dead yet. There are plenty of dead people around them, but they're not quite dead yet. And
Gotta give his dad some credit. He has a good line.
Yeah, he is not backing down. He is trying to the last second to prevent the situation from getting even worse. And the Rosencheck guy, he's like, what's the point of all this? And goes, the point is to try. Like, if you're going to whine, then go do it in a corner, but I'm not going to quit. And he's able to get an uplink to Lewis. Like, somehow he knows exactly how to get connected to him. And he says, look, I just want you to know, I need you to know that I love you. And then the link is lost. But at least Lewis knows that his dad's not quite dead yet, at the very least. So they are moving at 200 miles an hour, not knots, which I would imagine a sub would measure units in knots, but 200 miles an hour. And they are 5 minutes away from the hydro plant, but they've entered a thermal rise. All the heat in the area is causing the ship to start ascend at a rate of 30-degree angle. And Dr. Westphalen points out that, there's no way we can get closer, that the whole temperature, like the ocean is basically cooking with how wide this rip in the crust is. And we get like this real quick 15-second exchange between Noyce and, I'm not sure if we're given the character's name for this lady, but Noyce is saying, what can we do to fix this? And the lady's saying, well, the environment takes priority over whatever else is going on. Like, hey, who cares if humans die? We need to have a balanced ecosystem. And Admiral Noyce is saying, are you insane? People take priority. And Bridger says, either way isn't going to matter if we don't do something quick. So let's stop arguing and fix this situation. Which I thought was really interesting, just how many people there are who do have the mindset of, it's okay if people suffer, it's okay if people die, just so long as we have a balanced ecology.
Now, Bridger's called for people to abandon the ship.
Seems like he's ordering almost everyone to evacuate. Oh, and we find out that guy's name is Mr. Umbatu. I think that's the first time we heard his name in the series.
Yeah, I think so.
And Lewis jumps in and he says, what about my dad? We're doing nothing to try and even rescue him. And Bridger says, the odds are, and Lewis responds, going to eat away at me a little bit every day. And Bridger says, I'm not going to send someone over just to die. And Crocker, the amazing Crocker, as always, steps in and says, it doesn't matter if I die now or a little bit later from now. I'm at least going to try and do this. And he hands over the watch from the Nautilus to Bridger and says, hold on to this for me. And then Ford and Shran both politely reject his order to evacuate, saying there's no way you can pilot SeaQuest on your own. We're going to stay around and help you out. And apparently this is like a 2-mile wide rip in the crust at this point. And I don't think they've talked about that yet. But at this point, I was wondering, what on earth is going on here? Like, you would think that the moment the crust ripped and that lava was exposed to the water, it would solidify and turn to rock. But clearly, it's just so hot right here that instead of the water being able to cool it down, instead it's boiling the water away.
Perhaps because the rip is just so large. Oh no, poor Darwin.
Excellent. No Darwin voice this episode. So Dr. Westphalen is, holding on to Lewis's hands, comforting him. He's like, I'm okay. She's like, well, I'm not. And so Lewis, gently pats her hand in response to comfort her back. And Sci-Fi Nation is saying it should have flash steamed, creating a temperature incline and then solidified almost instantly. See, I definitely wouldn't have had all the scientific parts in there, but that is what I would have expected. The very last part of that sentence, they solidified immediately. That was the extent of my scientific knowledge on that Sci-Fi.
Meanwhile, Crocker is continuing to be awesome, like docking the launch, and a bunch of explosions going off around him.
And saves the day. Manages to get the last like 4 survivors, 3 survivors off of the station. Everyone else is dead. But he flies in there, rescues the damsels in distress, gets back to the ship. And yes, I'm including Lucas's father as one of the damsels. Hey, Jedi Bill, how you doing today? So Bridger says, get these people up top. Chief tries to push back one more time, saying, this is my ship too. And he says, you've already done your duty. And he tosses him the special watch from the Nautilus back to him. So now it's time to get into the pseudoscience of the episode, which, I'll suspend my disbelief for them at this point. It turns out that what's going on is that it's not just that they have ripped the crust open. There's actually a basically volcano situation happening where there's a giant pocket of, is it magma at this point? I think it's still magma. A giant pocket of magma that is continually pushing up to the top of the surface, causing it to not be able to heal. But they have a solution, they think. If they blow up every last nuclear device aboard the SeaQuest, after ramming the SeaQuest into the vent, they think that they will be able to disrupt the magma flow, it's not on the surface yet, the magma flow, and seal the rupture. So the thermonuclear launch has been activated, and it's time to get out of Dodge. And Sci-Fi Nation is saying that he likes submarines and how they operate. The old World War II sub movies talk a lot about thermal inversions. Oh, okay. The only World War II movie that I've seen is The Enemy Below, or that's the Star Trek name. It was the movie that the Star Trek episode The Enemy Below was based on. Wonderful movie.
Enemy Below is the movie.
It is the movie? Okay. I actually have a link to it.
Star Trek episodes.
Go on.
I was saying, the Star Trek episode is Balance of Terror, but it's based on The Enemy Below, the movie.
There we go. So yeah, I actually have a link on my Discord server to The Enemy Below on YouTube, which you can just search for it, and you don't have to go on a Discord server. But it's available on YouTube for free, like not even with ads. It's just open domain now. And I showed it to my son, and he was just completely entrenched with it. He thought it was the coolest movie ever. But unfortunately, the autopilot was disengaged, and Bridger has to come back and save the day while everyone else gets out. Which, of course, is, basically Bridger signing up for a one-way trip. As the SeaQuest plunges into the thermal inversion, that'd just be what the heat is called. He plunges into the magma. And here we see SeaQuest just blowing up, and honestly, it looks way too close to the shore. But in theory, like I was saying, you want to set this up where the continental shelf drops, because that's where you're going to get your tidal forces coming back and forth. So it actually would need to be somewhat close to land. So maybe it's just once you don't have something to give you perspective, things kind of get wonky in your brain.
Lewis is finally reunited with his dad. They look out to sea, and there's a huge explosion.
It is the end of the SeaQuest, which a gutsy way to end a season, blowing up your titular ship. But thank goodness there was a stinger. No one had taken the stinger out yet, and Bridger makes it out. And Sci-Fi Nation is saying that even on top of a volcanic bulge, if you collapse it, it will drop back into its crater and then some. Very cool. So off goes Lewis and Dr. Westphalen to embrace Captain Bridger. And we and we come back and see the crew kind of stuck. They don't know what to do next. They're at the Navy headquarters, just trying to figure out what to do next. You see the aircraft carrier captain trying to recruit Ford, and Ford's not doing it. Krieg is filling out an application, and he's saying, I need 3 people who will give me a recommendation without hesitation. And Ortiz, O'Neill, and Strand all are like, yeah, no. He goes, what? It's for seminary. And Strand's like, really? Father Krieg? I'm not buying it. And finally Krieg, lets in that, fine, it's for a manager at a fast food restaurant. And all 3 of them like, oh yeah, okay, sure, we'll give you a recommendation. You can use our names. And you can see that Krieg, he while getting off the ship, he at least rescued the holographic geisha girl box. So he pulls it out and loads in this program that's supposed to have a naked holographic geisha girl running around. He says, we could use a laugh. But instead, it is a self-help motivational seminar type thing. And Krieg is like, what the heck? He's flipping it over. He's like, it's supposed to be a naked geisha girl. And the guy's like, we're going to talk about 3 words. It can't happen. Build it, realize it, dream it. And Krieg's like, I don't get it. It's supposed to be a nude saxophonist. And here we see Lewis and his dad having this nice heart-to-heart touching moment. Don't know what they're talking about, but they're at least, looks like they're reconciling something. And Bridger's just kind of, voyeuring right there, waiting for the dad to walk off. And, the dad's learning. He's saying, look, even though he's going to be really busy, he at least promised to show up to my birthday next year.
And then for our next plan, we have to rebuild the boat.
Yeah, British says the next year is going to be really busy. We have to build a whole new boat. And the good old Bob Ballard is saying, hello, we're working on finding various forms of getting energy from the Earth instead of just getting it from the sun. One of which being taking advantage of geothermal energy. And I thought that one was like what they talk about, the getting it from undersea vents where, it's incredibly hot. In fact, they thought it was so hot that there's no way life could possibly exist in these thermal vents. And it turns out that there is life there because, God made life to be amazing and diverse and grow in places they never thought possible. Like there's literally a area of the sea in Galveston where they thought that it was so high, the salt content was so high that like no life can live in this salt area. Like it was a salt lake inside the ocean. And it turns out life is just thriving there. Life thrives in the places we'd never expected to find. Now, yes, it tends to be very, very small life, bacteria, stuff like that, but it's still life. But I do love the idea of being able to take things like these geothermal vents and somehow taking advantage of that natural heat that's just constantly being pumped out, that sulfur, and being able to turn it into a natural energy source. That's a pretty cool thing. But obviously, here we are in 2021. What is this? I think we said almost 30 years later now, and we haven't gotten there. they have not found a way to make use of that energy. The fact that it's on the bottom of the ocean floor and the logistics of setting up a plant, let alone getting the energy from those plants, is absurdly high. It kind of explains why we haven't gotten there yet. And Sci-Fi Nation is saying in season 2, there are a couple of episodes that are out of order as they are listed on Peacock as far as continuity. Also in season 3, which is 2032, just a thought as you're screening those. And you're right, Sci-Fi, saying at the end of season 1 also. Yeah, so we did notice those. John called them out as we got to them. That in one episode you see the Supreme Secretary Noyce, and the next episode he's still an admiral. It's like, well, in 3 episodes we'll find out why. So they do eventually find out what's going on. Sorry, Professor, you're right. 1993 is when this aired, not 2003. I was off by a decade. I guess I just don't want to admit how long ago SeaQuest aired. Or are you talking about when Jonathan Brandis killed himself, which was 2003? Okay, yeah. Talking about Jonathan Brandis. And yes, that was very sad that he did that. It's very sad that anyone chooses that Satan puts it into their heart that there's just no one who cares. Life's troubles are too immense to possibly do this. That there's no way whatever they've done can be forgiven. Whatever it is, just the fact that Satan takes that and twists it into the mind until suicide seems like the only acceptable option. It is tragic, and I hate to see it happen. Which is honestly one of the reasons I have disliked this past year so much, because I've been able to see how many people are being just corralled into that mindset, and I hate that almost as a world we have endorsed that we said it's okay for those people to suffer. It's okay for those people to end up taking their lives, just so long as we protect these people. Like we've done this trade-off, and I'm not a fan of it at all. But I am a fan of this episode. Were there any points in this episode, John, that were meh for you?
Nothing comes to mind. I thought this was an excellent episode.
It really was. I mean, the most nitpick thing I had was the chasm of magma lava pouring up that never, like that SeaQuest could only blow up, or could only solve by blowing up SeaQuest. It worked within the episode. Like scientifically, when I watched it, I'm like, well, that makes no sense. Why on earth is like even me without my knowledge, like Sci-Fi Nation had all this science, like, oh, it was this, like, but even me without that sort of information, I was able to go, well, this makes no sense that we don't have things automatically healing. But that's a nitpick. I was able to set that aside and enjoy the problem they came up with. The fact that it grew over time because Lewis's dad kind of turned a blind eye to it at the beginning, focusing too much on the payoff instead of kind of slowly starting things up, like you were talking about at the beginning, John. Maybe should have done a test trial or two. And then the fact that they came up with a solution, a pretty bold one, blowing up the SeaQuest. I thought it made for a great episode. It left things on a point where, like, everyone is in a position where I am glad there's a season 2, but I wouldn't have been disappointed with, oh, well, what about this? What about that? If there hadn't been a season 2.
Yes, and it was intentional that this was written that it could serve as a series finale, because unfortunately SeaQuest is one of those shows that was almost constantly under the threat of cancellation. So you'll see that at the end of every season. It's written in the way that it could have just ended it there and it would have been it.
And it makes sense. They're going up against TNG. What are they up to in 93? Season 5 or 6? When did it start? Did it start in 87?
Yeah, TNG started in 87.
Okay, so they're up at season 6 TNG. That was powerful TNG. Like TNG was hitting its prime. You got great character development. You had great episodes. Just knocking out of park almost every episode, season 6, I think. And then next year, DS9 started, which I think DS9 probably had the strongest first season of any Star Trek series out there. Like in terms of knowing who your characters were at the get-go, production value, fun episodes. And I say that admittedly as someone who enjoyed Move Along Home. I enjoyed it for the silly episode it was. I know I'm in the minority on this one, but if you're here in the pub last night, I'm in the minority on a lot of things, and I'm okay with that. So
also, I don't know if you've looked ahead yet, but there's going to be some. If you looked ahead at the next season, there's going to be some major changes in the show going forward from here.
I have not. Oh, I wanted to. I actually watched this episode today at lunchtime, and I so bad wanted to just be like, okay, well, I'm watching the next episode now. I'm gonna binge this because I really, really want to see what happened in season 2, but I didn't. I'm being a good boy and sticking to one a week, even if I do want to skip ahead. And
we also saw from even this episode.
What's that?
Sorry, I was saying that we saw even from this episode that are indicating that certain characters were going to be leaving. We know that Crocker's retiring. Krieg's looking for another job. Hitchcock took that job on the tanker and so on. So we already know from that it's going to be some changes.
Yeah, and I was really hoping that Crocker was going to unretire. Slash, I am hoping. I'm gonna pretend I'm just gonna forget that you just said that. I really hoped that Crocker would come back. I honestly I missed it. I wasn't paying close enough attention. I missed the fact that Hitchcock is taking the job on the tanker, but that makes $400,000 a year. I'd take a job on the tanker for that. That is, I mean, that's some nice cash, especially in '93. Well, or 2018, especially in 2018 when this series takes place. And Sci-Fi Nation is saying SeaQuest basically has bioregenerative outer hull skin, like the Vorlons in Babylon 5. How did it survive that much heat and pressure from weapons and Mother Earth? I don't believe it did. I'm pretty sure she went kablooey.
There is one thing I can set your mind at ease about, Matthew, is that when we come back for the second season, Darwin is definitely there.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. That's what I was worried about the most. Would Darwin be back?
I figured.
And hey, Trek reviewer, how you doing today? So I failed to get the chat set up right today, so unfortunately, anyone over in YouTube cannot see what's going on over in Twitch and vice versa. I'll try and be better about that next time. And let's see. Professor Brain Inspector saying Move Along Home was not as bad as a lot of people claim. And Sci-Fi saying it was a great character builder for Quark. And he had a fun dynamic with Odo. And honestly, the little things they had to do in the game, the Alan Moraine, count to 4, Alan Moraine, then 3 more. Alan Moraine, if you can see, Alan Moraine, you'll come with me. I thought that was, it was cheesy, but it was fun. They were obviously in a game the whole time. And you see that, like, looking back to the episode. Like, not every episode of Trek has to be a super huge study into, like, the human nature. I love it for that, but I also enjoy just the Trial with Tribble episodes, the Piece of the Action episodes. I enjoy those episodes, and the Move Along Home episodes. But I do understand why so many people found it so cringy.
I think the biggest issue with that episode is the song, which is what everybody remembers. So the rest of the episode wasn't that bad.
Yeah, and Sci-Fi Nation saying, "I love you, Matthew, but Bird sings it better." I agree. In fact, I will forever be convinced that Bird is like an opera tenor, and he's so good at singing that he knows how to sing poorly. And I think he's just doing the long con on all of us. Well, guys, I do think we need to wrap things up. And Trek Review is saying SeaQuest did get destroyed. I agree. I'm pretty sure that we're going to see a new SeaQuest next season. And honestly,
Indeed.
I mean, blowing it up this season is a nice in-universe way that the start of next season you could have changes. Like, hey, you know what? We want things to be laid out this way after doing season 1. Well, instead of being like, well, that was a wonderful overhaul we had to the SeaQuest over the summer, they can be like, we've made a whole new SeaQuest, and that's why things look different. But we do need to wrap things up next week, assuming I'm not a bum again, which I shouldn't be. I should be done going out of town for a little bit. We'll see. But assuming everything works out, I'm hoping that John and I can do a season 1 retrospective, talking about our favorite and least favorite episodes of the season. Maybe we come in it with top 3 picks of the season and top least favorite pick. Because honestly, I don't think I could give you 3 least favorites from this season.
That's the 3 favorite Darwin moments.
Oh, gosh. Okay, fine. Let me write this down. I will give my 3 favorites, not hashtag favorites, Matthew, you dink. My 3 favorite SeaQuest episodes, my 1 least favorite episode, and my 3 favorite Darwin moments. There we are. And then after that, we will be starting up season 2. All things go well.
Looking forward to it.
Any final thoughts here, John, before we wrap things up tonight?
I'm glad you all could join us, and hope you join us again next week.
And I fully agree. And because Sci-Fi Nation is asking, saying, say the awesome outro, please. Absolutely, Sci-Fi Nation. May the Lord bless and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will. And be sure to hit that bell icon to be notified of all the updates I do on this channel. If you want to support the work I'm doing here, then I hope you'll consider becoming one of my Patreons, where you'll get early access to all kinds of videos. And until the next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.